So this morning I was reminded about one of the most important life lessons that I honestly was taught a very, very long time ago, but it was a reminder this morning. If you guys are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. My name is Coach Joe, and this is the Heartletics podcast. And today we're going to be talking about, honestly, one of the simplest things that a lot of people need to understand. I'm going to kind of share with you guys a little bit more about that and then tie this into maybe relating it to your health and fitness goals as well. So typically every morning I wake up, I immediately, say my affirmations in the mirror. And then I come down here to the office, I grab my journal, and I write down the things I'm grateful for, say a quick little prayer, and then I meditate. Right when I get done meditating, I typically go on YouTube and I decide to click on something that's kind of like a motivational video, just so I can do my foam rolling and kind of stretch things out before I head out the door for the gym. So I happened to see upon like the 4 secrets of Navy SEALs. And it got me intrigued because obviously if you guys know anything about me in my past, I actually wanted to become a Marine, and I failed my ASVAB test 3 times. And so I never made it into the Marine Corps. And that's okay. I still wish that would have happened, but obviously God has other plans for me. So I'm watching this video, or listening to this video, I should say, as I'm doing my foam roller and just stretching, and it's really getting me intrigued because I'm like, I love the mindset. The mindset shift that these Navy SEALs had is so powerful, and it has to be, especially you go through buds and hell week. Like, you have to have the mindset that, hey, no ifs, ands, or buts, you're going to surpass this, and it got me to stumble upon some other Navy SEAL videos. I started listening to one of the guys from Lone Survivor, and he had a really good phrase out there about having a bottle. Okay, and having this bottle, he mentioned about putting it into the water, putting it into the ocean, and there's all this water all around the bottle, right? And sometimes it could sink, sometimes it could float. But here's the thing. When there's the cap is, taken off the top of the bottle and water is able to get in, that's when it's always going to sink and stay to the bottom. And he used the metaphor about, life being literally 10% about what happens to you, 90% on how you react to it. And I really like that because, that water coming into us, he kind of utilized that as, that is how you're perceiving things, your mindset on things. It's actually what's drowning you, not the situation that's out there, because, hey, you could be floating above the water, but it's when you let it inside your mind, when you let it inside your body, that's when you're going to start to sink. So I'm like, oh man, this guy's preaches to the choir, right? I'm eating this up. I love mindset stuff, right? Let's talk about this all day. Then it got me stumbling across more about, the training that SEALs had to go through and buds and Hell Week. And I learned about drown proofing actually. And it brought it to a sense where there's actually kind of like a spiritual lesson when they go through drown proofing. And in case you guys don't know what drown proofing is, I recommend you don't try this at all. This is where you tie your hands behind your back. This is where you tie your feet together, and they basically throw you into like a 9-foot pool. Okay. And your job is to survive for 5 minutes. There's lots of people that pass out, lots of people that drown, and there's very few people that actually survive. But here's the key. When I was looking up more to this and figuring out what is some keys to success, because I'm like a kid in the candy shop now, right? I'm like, okay, so I'm watching this video, listening about drown proofing, but there are guys that have success, guys that drown. What makes the guys that are successful succeed? I love learning about this stuff because I feel like success honestly leaves clues, And when you can find people out there that are just leaving a little bit of clues and you can pick it up, you will unlock those keys to success. So I'm trying to unlock those keys to success in my own mind, right? My own life, and share it back to you guys on this platform, on this podcast. So here are the biggest 2 lessons when it comes to drown proofing. And they're really actually interesting. Let's just say it like that. So the more you struggle, the more likely you are to actually sink and drown. Seriously. The more you struggle, like your hands are tied behind your back, right? Your feet are tied, And like, think about it, they just throw you in a pool. But the more you struggle, the more likely you are to actually drown. It's crazy. And the reason why is just because, the more and more that you panic, the more likely you are to burn more oxygen, right? To waste away all your energy and then eventually drown. Okay, so hear me out. The more you panic, the more you struggle, the more likely you are to fail and drown. Now, how do you have success when it comes to drown proofing? Because I'm sure you guys want to learn, right? I sure did. That's what made me stumble upon, deep diving into all this information. And it's interesting. You go with the flow. If your body is falling and sinking, you sink with it. You don't struggle, you let go and you sink. And so, in fact, anybody can do this where they can actually survive drown proofing for over 5 minutes long by simply just sinking. And what happens is, strategically, you have to learn how to just let go of the situation that's at hand and sink and fall to the bottom. And then once you get there, obviously your feet are tied, your hands are tied behind your back. You press up off the bottom of the surface, off the bottom of the pool floor, and you kick up. And you can get up, and guess what? Your head's going to go above the water for just a split second. You got to stay calm. In that split second, you grab in as much oxygen as you can, and then go right back down, and you sink, right? And if you try to just struggle and panic, you're going to waste away all that oxygen. You're going to waste away all that energy just trying to survive drown proofing. But the way to have success is by letting go. And I want to share with you guys that, I learn a lot and I focus a lot and I study a lot on, spiritual side of things, right? Law of attraction, right? There's law of assumption, there's backwards law, there's all these different laws out there to the universe that I like. I'm intrigued. I like learning about that stuff and just implementing it into, some people might think that's all woo-woo and lolly-dolly. I implement it as in, okay, hey, how can I improve on my mindset learning about this knowledge? That's all. I always want to be open-minded. Always. That's what the keys to success inside of our coaching program is, and that's one of the biggest keys to success with me in my own life is I never want to be the smartest person in the room. So when I learn about something, I really want to learn about it. And I remember learning about 3-4 years ago about what's called this backwards law. And it actually is kind of like what we coach and teach our clients about at Heartletics without us even actually saying the words backwards law or talking anything about it. But if you ever look up backwards law, it's honestly very similar to the law of assumption, where you just forget about it. It's off the equation. You see, going back to what Marcus, the guy from Lone Survivor, the Navy SEAL that survived, he used the analogy and he talked about life is 90% about what happens to you. 10% about what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. And he used that analogy about having that, bottle that's in the ocean. And it's only when you open up, right, the cap, and you let the water in, that's when you sink. And now learning about drown proofing, hey, when you try to control the situation at hand, that's when you fail. That's when you drown. You just got to go with the flow. And putting this to a health and fitness, right, fat loss metaphor, how many times do you have goals out there? You want to get underneath, 15% body fat. You want to lose 20, 50 pounds. You want to get off your blood pressure and cholesterol medications. Well, guess what? The more and more you want, subconsciously, you're putting out there the energy that, hey, you don't have it, you don't deserve it. You're not worthy enough of it. And the more and more you try to struggle to get it, guess what? You're pushing it farther and farther away because you decided to put it up on a pedestal. You decided to put it up there as that goal that's so hard to reach and, focus on it being like this almighty goal when in reality, you just got to let go. Now, I'm not saying, okay, hey, you want to lose 20 pounds, focus on that goal for a short period of time and then just go to sit on the couch all day, drink beer, eat Cheetos. No, I'm not saying that. Obviously, there's a metaphor out there called Goya, right? Which is get off your ass, right? And there's a lot of truth to that as well, right? The law of Goya, where it's just like you gotta, put some, law of attraction. You can't just sit there and meditate about wishing to have fat loss and, millions of dollars. Like, you gotta realize here the word inside attraction is action. You gotta put forward the action. But when you're moving step by step in alignment with your goals, you got to have that certainty. You got to have that faith that it's going to happen. It's going to come true, It's just that us as human beings, right, living in the 21st century, if we want fast food, we go drive somewhere, we get it within 5 minutes. If we want, something, we go drive somewhere, we get it. We got up in our fridge, right? We got up at, order Amazon Prime, we get it the next day. Everybody thinks that you can change your health in the same manner. It doesn't work like that. Everybody thinks to achieve your goals, right, you can get it the next day just because you can get anything, right, the next day in today's society. It doesn't work like that with certain things. And so what happens is that we put it up on a pedestal. And we want, and we don't really have faith. We don't really trust the process. We're just saying that maybe, but we're not putting through the right vibrations, right? Imagine this. Imagine if you're so certain, right? And this is why I like to meditate and visualize. Imagine you having the body that you want. How would it look? How would it feel? How would you act if you were 20%, underneath 20% body fat? If you had six-pack abs? If you were, healthy, you weren't on, taking blood pressure medications every day? If, you had so much testosterone, like, it's just insane. So much energy, like you're keeping up with your kids, and in fact, they're falling asleep before you are. Visualize that. Map that out in your head. Get that mental image of how that would actually be. How would it actually feel? What would you actually do differently? And then use the law of act as if. Fake it till you make it, right? And that's it. Right, have faith that it's gonna happen, because here's the thing. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time. You can't just have a goal, right? And then let's say you meditate, right, about like, being financially wealthy and six-pack abs, but then after the meditation, you just go back to being broke, right? And you're like, looking at your bank account, you're upset the fact that you're broke, and like you're looking in the mirror, you're upset the fact that you have a beer belly and dad bod. It's not going to work out. Like, you can meditate every single day, but after that meditation session and after that visualization session, guess what? If you're still putting the vibration of, oh man, I'm broke, right? Now you're all upset, looking at your finances, looking in the mirror, you're upset, looking at your health. Guess what? Like, it's going to be very hard to achieve that goal. Now, instead, if you can just put the blinders on your own reality and just say, okay, hey, listen, like, put a little twist on it. That's all. I'm not saying you're going to get six-pack abs overnight, but like, put a little twist on it, right? Instead of you focusing on like, I don't have those six-pack abs yet and being all upset about it, focus on, man, I'm a lot better than where I was last week. Or I have more energy than where I was at, last month with this. Or I'm progressing. I just lost a pound or two this week. Or, man, my clothes fit better, right? And maybe you're not making as much money as you want, but, who knows? Maybe you get inspired action as far as like, thinking about doing some side hustles. Right? Or selling some crap on Facebook Marketplace, or just sitting around your garage, right? Collecting dust. Or maybe you get a business idea, and as long as you're taking inspired action, eventually it's going to come. But you got to kind of mix, honestly, all of these laws, these spiritual laws, these universal laws together to really manifest whatever it is that you're after. And I know this might sound a little far-fetched and woo-woo for a lot of people. It sure did for me. But remember, these practices that I was doing with meditation, visualization, affirmations, this is what saved me from committing suicide. Like, let that sink in. I'm not telling you guys to go manifest a Ferrari and $1 million just because for the fun of it. Like, I'm teaching you guys what just worked best for me when I was very, very depressed. And these are just simple practices that I use inside of our coaching program to also help out guys become more mentally stronger. Not just physically stronger, mentally stronger. But going back to, what we talked about here in the beginning with drown proofing, you got to understand this, that life's going to test you at times. Life's going to throw curveballs your way. The more you try to control the situation, guess what? You're going to sink. You're going to drown. Just like trying your best to swim and struggle. Your hands are tied behind your back, your feet are tied, right? You're going to fail. You're going to drown. You got to learn how to just let go and just go with the flow. And then when you get that little time to shine, right, bouncing them up off the ground, off the bottom of the pool to come up and get some oxygen, stay calm. Because guess what? Life might bring you right back down again, but it's okay. Eventually that 5 minutes is going to be up and you survived. There's not going to be any more having your hands and your feet tied behind your back. You're going to be perfectly fine. It's just like what Marcus said, right? With the little bottle. You put that bottle inside the ocean, all this water is all around it. But guess what? When that cap is on tight, it's going to float. It's going to stay above the trends. It's only when you decide to open up the cap and let the water in, that's when you sink. That's when you fail. And I know this is way different, far-fetched than probably what you guys are used to hearing. And, if you're somebody that's into working on your mindset, this is probably amazing for you to hear this and have this, shed some light upon your situation, especially if you're going through a dark time right now in your life. But I want you to just understand this. You cannot be defined about the circumstances that's going on currently right now in your life, especially if it's some negativity, especially if it's some stress, especially if it's some drama. The best way, honestly, to surpass this and make it go by 10 times faster is looking at it from the lens of these being the mental reps. You go to the gym to work out, right? It sucks in the beginning. It's hard. You feel sore. You feel beat up the next day. But the more and more you continue to push through, the more and more you show up, the more and more you continue to get your working out in, the easier it gets. Guys, stress, drama, it's the inevitable. It's going to happen in your life. But the more you try to fight back on the situation at hand, guess what? You're losing those reps. You're not going to progress. You're not going to get stronger. The more you let go of the situation, you have full faith that it's all going to work out in your favor. I love what Steve Jobs says. R.I.P. You cannot connect the dots looking forward in life. You can only connect the dots looking backwards in life. And I highly recommend that when one door closes, instead of you being upset and negative and, all depressed about it, you realized here that a better opportunity might be ahead. But you might not be able to see that better opportunity if your head is looking down because you're depressed, because you're sad, because you're negative. But when you keep your head, your eyes to the sky, looking at the sunshine, guess what? You're going to be more inclined, more in alignment with seeing those inspired actions, seeing those opportunities, seeing your goals happen before your eyes. So guys, whether you think, law of assumption, the backwards law of attraction, all this stuff is all woo-woo, far-fetched, hey, that's okay. But what's serious is guys, right, going to become Navy SEALs, going through BUDS, going through Hell Weeks, and they have to go through this drown proofing. And the biggest lesson that I learned is that the more you struggle, the more you try to fight back, the more you panic, the more energy you give away, the more oxygen you give away, the quicker you are to sink and fail. The minute you let go, guess what? You're going to pass. You're going to have success. So guys, I really hope this little analogy, this little metaphor hits you a little bit differently today. Because, you might be trying your hardest to burn body fat and lose weight. And maybe you're dealing with a little plateau. Maybe you're also dealing with some adversity outside of the gym, right? Maybe life's throwing curveballs your way. It's okay. You got to look at it as the mental reps. You also have to look at it as, hey, when one door closes, another one that's even better for opportunities might be on the next, hindsight. It might be right there. But remember, the more you look down, you're never going to see those opportunities ahead. So keep on striving. One foot in front of the other. That's what we focus on Heartletics. 1% better each and every day. And I promise you, if you just make that mindset shift, your life is going to be so much better in the end. So hopefully you guys got some value from today's episode. If you did, share this on your Facebook, share this on your Instagram, tag me. I would love to be able to just see if it has positively affected your life. And other than that, I really hope you guys have a great day. This has been Coach Joe with the Heartletics podcast, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.